Welcome to Amy Liz Harrison's podcast, Eternally Amy, a mum of eight's journey from jail to joy. A Gen Xer who overcame her struggle with alcohol to become a best-selling author and mental health advocate. She shares stories of hope and offers ideas for others struggling with mental health challenges, spirituality, ADHD, or maybe just family, travel, and logistics. One thing is for sure, you'll leave with something to chew on. And now, here's your host, Amy Liz Harrison.
Welcome back to Eternally Amy, and today I am thrilled to announce my guest from the Alcohol Tipping Point, Deb Masner. And she is a registered nurse. She's also a certified health and wellness coach, and she founded Alcohol Tipping Point in 2020 to help people who struggle with their relationship to alcohol. She's a blogger, she's a podcaster, and she is, as I mentioned, a wellness coach and an RN. So Deb, greetings from Pacific time or West Coast time or whatever we're calling it now. So I'm very thrilled to meet you. And I'm so thrilled that you are here and it worked out to have you on. So here's the deal. I was wondering if we could just jump into the nitty gritty and have you just tell us about your background and how you founded the Alcohol Tipping Point and what your experience was with drinking.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm on Mountain Time. I'm in Boise, Idaho, and you're in a neighboring state, which is lovely. Like you said, I'm a registered nurse and health coach. I'm also alcohol-free. My last drink was January 1st, 2020. And that was when I founded the Alcohol Tipping Point. I was what I called myself a gray area drinker. And so someone that didn't hit rock bottom, the stereotypical rock bottom, but just finding that alcohol wasn't serving me. I wanted it out of my life. Well, first I wanted to moderate. I wanted to drink like a normal drinker. I tried that for years. I finally came to terms with okay, I'm just done. I'm done with drinking. And it took me probably a year and a half from that decision of being done, to just divorce myself. Because I call it a divorce because it is like you had a relationship with alcohol, so you're breaking up with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then I started Alcohol Tipping Point. Like I said, at first I just started it as a website just to compile resources for people because, as you know, in your experience too, there's just so many different ways to go about changing your relationship with alcohol. And there's so many different ways to quit. And I, for the longest time, thought for me and for the general population, it was only AA or inpatient rehab. And so now there's just so many other groups you can go to, other programs, just medication, just lots of resources, lots of support out there. So I really wanted to advocate for that. And then the podcast just kind of fell in my lap. I started that in March of 2021. And then I started a Dry July group last year. So it's been almost a year. I call it an alcoholiday. So now I run monthly alcoholiday groups. And it's just really great because I can use my nursing background and my health coaching background to help other people practice not drinking.
I love it. And I love the whole idea. I was looking on your website and I love the whole idea of the vacation from alcohol, the break from alcohol, because that was one thing when I quit that was so overwhelming was the thought that, oh, wait, I'm never going to drink again. Like that to me was something I was not ready to swallow. It was just too overwhelming. And I think that that's common. And I love the fact that you had on your website, hey, try it for 10 days, try it for, a short period of time. I just thought that was so brilliant.
Well, thank you. Yeah, my thing is helping people practice not drinking. It's It's a lot to put on yourself to say you're never going to drink again. And then to expect perfection. It's just unrealistic that this is the only thing we do where it's like, you have to be perfect or you're not successful. And I just think that's not true. I mean, every day you practice not drinking, you can learn from, and you don't have to go back to day one. You don't have to count days. You can reduce your alcohol intake, or you can get rid of it altogether. And like you said, I do recommend just try a 10-day break. You don't have to quit forever. Try a 30-day break. See how you feel. And then you can decide.
I love it. So great. Yeah, absolutely. And then just a quick question about your nursing job. What kind of a nurse are you?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for asking. So I am a wellness nurse. I work in corporate health and wellness at our local hospital, our healthcare system here. I started out in nursing in 2004. I started out at the VA, the Veterans Administration or Veterans Affairs, and actually started out on a medical surgical unit, which part of my patient panel was detoxing veterans. And then I've been in the wellness, health coaching, and nursing realm for the last 7 years. So it's been really great.
That's so fantastic. And I love that you brought up that there are so many different ways to get sober or to change your relationship with alcohol or to look at it from another perspective. And my listeners know I'm really big on 12-step recovery because that worked for me. That's just my personal experience. But I know that substance use disorder, it's just, now that there's so much more information about it and there are so many different people coming forward and saying, this is how I made a change. This is how I personally did it. It's so amazing because I think, there's more than one road or pathway to get to, a certain life goal, not even a destination, but a certain life goal. And what are the things that you personally have noticed that have changed since you've gone alcohol free?
In my personal life, what has changed?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, so much. Well, I would say I just have more energy, more focus. I like to say I took like a smart pill because I just feel so much smarter. Everything got easier too. Like my job got easier, my parenting got easier, my relationship with my husband got easier. I just feel relief. I just feel freedom. That's why I like to say alcohol free a lot of the time. I also use the word sober, but I feel like just removing alcohol from your life can make all areas of your life better. I mean, it can improve your finances, your health, obviously, your social life, your relationships, just so much. It's so impactful.
Absolutely agree with you. Everything that you had listed on your website, I was looking through and I was like, yes, yes, yes. I mean, from weight loss to sleeping better and all the physical things as well. So I loved it. And okay, so this has been a big deal, of course, since the pandemic is we keep reading these alcohol articles about how people's drinking has increased, or people who didn't drink to escape are now drinking or were drinking to escape during the pandemic from April 2020 all the way up till today. And I'm just wondering, as a registered nurse, what have you personally seen or what have you heard about within the healthcare system that has changed for people's relationship with alcohol?
Well, that's a good question. I wish I had exact stats, but I do know that even before the pandemic, that the rate of women drinkers, heavy women drinkers, was increasing dramatically, and the rate of women dying from alcohol-related diseases and overdoses and just whatnot, that had raised dramatically as well. And then the one thing we're seeing in the medical community are changes in liver disease. So we're seeing more and more young people coming in with liver disease. So those have been big changes.
Wow.
But also at the same time, in the last couple of years, we've had more health organizations come out and say, no amount of alcohol is safe for your health when it comes to cancer risk. We've had the World Heart Federation come out and say no amount of alcohol is good in terms of cardiovascular health. So I feel like they're catching up to our statistics of more and more problem drinkers, and the medical community and the big organizations are now catching up and being like, yeah, we should not be promoting moderation. We don't need to say like, it's okay to have one or two drinks to unwind at night, because a lot of the times that's the message that you hear from the medical community. And so now I think it's like, it's best not to drink at all is the message we're trying to get out there. And then if you are going to drink, really limit yourself.
That is amazing to hear. And it makes me so happy. I think because, I used to lie on those medical, forms when I'd go in to see the doctor. I was like, how many drinks are you drinking? And I'd half it. And usually I would be told, even when I halved it, that was a little bit too much. And I thought, well, I can never come clean and say how much I'm actually drinking. So that's really encouraging to hear and exciting. And what kind of resources? I mean, obviously for your website, you have so many options for people to engage in. Is your blog kind of an interactive community type blog? Do you run something like that? Or is it more informational?
Well, my blog is just kind of out there to read. And then, like you said, I have quite a few free resources on my website that you can access. Like I have a free 10-day challenge, which is just 10 days of emails, just take a 10-day break. I have a dry guide you can download. I have mocktail recipes. I have a pretty popular download called 100 Questions to Change Your Drinking. So I have those kind of resources you can do. And then I also run those monthly alcoholidays. So every month I run a 30-day or 31-day, depending on how many days of the month we have. And so it is a group. It's hosted off Facebook. It's just a private group that you get daily content and you're with other people who are changing their drinking. And we do grouply meetings twice a week. And then we have a feed, like a chat feed, kind of similar to Facebook. So that's the really interactive part. That's the paid part of what I do. And then pretty much the majority of all the other stuff is free in the podcast. So lots of resources there.
I love it, because what I hear you saying is that by engaging with groups, you build connection with others, right? And I think that's one of the huge things, especially during the pandemic, that was so challenging, was people not having access to their normal connections with other human beings, despite all the other challenges with it. But I know that's a theme that I keep hearing over and over, is people saying, I was just so lonely, or I just was living in fear and I didn't really have anybody to talk to about it. And kind of these ongoing mental health themes of just, I'm lonely and I just want to be around people. And I know that for me, sobriety, the big deal was connection, feeling like I wasn't alone. So in whatever way you decide to change your drinking habits or attempt to change them, I just think that's such a powerful way. It's a powerful tool to, be able to come alongside somebody else and say, hey, me too. I'm experiencing similar things, and just to have that shared experience. So I'm wondering, what would you say are some of the top craving tips you would give somebody who's just brand new starting out? about how to combat cravings?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I find that in cravings, you're either going towards them or away from them. And so when you're first changing your drinking, it's more helpful to use distraction methods. So that's kind of moving away from your cravings. So my number one tip is to eat. Heavy drinkers have chronically low blood sugar. And when you have low blood sugar, you're more likely to have cravings. So it's really important to just keep that belly full, have snacks, have the M&Ms, have the donut, right? Like, but also, try to add in some protein so you stay full and you don't get that blood sugar drop. You can also just get out of your head and into your body. So if that's taking a walk, doing jumping jacks, taking a cold shower, splashing cold water on your face, just something that gets you out of your head. Other distraction techniques are doing like a guided meditation, journaling, getting out, listening to a podcast, phoning a friend, going to an online meeting, getting on Facebook, Netflix. You can also have a replacement drink, which is helpful for people that are just, it does become a habit and kind of a ritual. And so what was really helpful for me was to have some non-alcohol beer in the fridge. So instead of coming home from work and going and getting a beer or wine, I would go get a non-alcohol beer. So I was still doing the same thing, but I was just replacing my drink. Those are a few just tangible tips for reducing cravings at first. When you are able to get a little distance or you want to practice, the other tools for cravings are where you go towards it, where you just sit with it, where you write it out, and I'm not talking like white knuckling, but where you just allow yourself to feel the craving and you can even say what I'm feeling now is a craving, like say hello to it. What do I really need besides a drink? Do I need to eat? Do I need a nap? Do I need someone to do the laundry? Like, what is it I'm really needing? And also just feeling in your body. What does it feel like? Are you feeling anxious? Are you nervous? Are your hands shaking? Are you, just all those sensations in your body, and just sit with it until it passes, because no feeling is final and they will all pass, even cravings. So that's something that you can practice, and it takes practice, but it's so effective because then you realize, oh, I can get over any feeling and I will get over this one too. And on the other side is relief.
Oh, I love that. So well said, because it's so empowering once you start getting through some of those cravings to just know, oh, okay, I guess, I didn't die from that. It wasn't comfortable. Maybe it wasn't pleasant to walk through it, but I did. And it's a confidence builder. And then that kind of starts to snowball a little bit. And I don't know. I think that's such a good way to look at it, is you get to choose. You get to choose, do I walk into this? Do I do something to remove myself of this temptation physically? And I love the shower, or the shower. I guess you said cold water, putting cold water on your face. I love that tip too, because I feel like anything to break that intense draw, that feeling of like I'm being magnetized toward a drink. I just thought was such an interesting, it's a great visual, a great picture, and great tangible tips. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
On your website, there is something called Smart Recovery, and I'm not super familiar with that one, but I was just wondering what that is in general, and if that's a specific program that you personally subscribe to or encourage.
Yeah, great question. So Smart Recovery is a nonprofit organization for people with an addiction to anything. So it could be gambling or sex or alcohol or drugs or anything. And so what they have is free meetings in person and online I did go through their certification program to become a certified facilitator of smart recovery meetings because they're evidence-based and they're compassion-based. So it is a really great organization. They have a lot of great tools. So it's not a program per se, like it doesn't walk you through, like, here's what you do. It doesn't have sponsors, but it does have tools, like I said. And so you can access those on the website at smartrecovery.org and you can do like a cost benefit analysis where you're weighing the pros and cons of drinking or not drinking. You can do like a values assessment where you're looking at what your values are and do they align with your drinking or whatever habit you have. They have a lot of like cognitive behavioral therapy tools on there. So super great organization, great resources.
Fantastic. There are so many options today. I think that's just so beautiful that you're not stuck with one thing, and you can change it up and, try different methodologies. I just think it's great. And I'm wondering too, what for you personally motivates you every day to continue on your alcohol-free journey?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the long term, I'm in it for the long haul.
Yay. Yeah.
Well, I think what motivates me is helping people. I mean, I've always been a helper, obviously, with my nursing background. I'm a mom. So I love what I do. I love being able to share all the new things I'm learning because I'm constantly learning and just evolving. And just there's like you said, there's so many tools out there and resources, and we're just scratching the surface. So that really motivates me, is helping other people. And then I think you do have to have something in your life to stay long-term sober, whether that is a group you go to, or if you're just checking out the latest Quit Lit book, or you're listening to podcasts, or you have to have something, some kind of touchstone still. I thought that I wanted to get to a place with alcohol where I was never thinking about it again. And I don't think about it again. Like for me, I'm like, meh, I could take it or leave it. Obviously, I'm leaving it, but it's neutral.
Mm-hmm.
However, I still have to just be cognizant of the fact that this is my pathway and I just need to stay on this journey, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, what I hear you talking about is staying in action, first of all, and that having that accountability, you know, that really connects us to other people, and that, you know, somebody's going to notice if you're not at the group or you don't contribute. And it's powerful, you know, because it just kind of keeps boots on ground, so to speak.
Yeah. And I think what was interesting is I was kind of alluding to it before, but I at one point was like, I don't ever want to like talk about alcohol again or think about it again. And now this is like incorporated so much in my life, but it's different. I feel free. I still feel alcohol free, but I'm on the other side of it. And I just want to help people come to this side. And I just want to like leave no person behind. So I could talk about it all day now, really. It's like a calling. It was like it was meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's also that place of our past becoming our greatest asset, and really on how that kind of shapes our future. And that is sort of a segue into the next question that I have is, what are your future plans for Alcohol Tipping Point? Is there anything you'd like to see happen or to expand on in the future?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. I just was actually talking to my brother last night about it. He's been a huge supporter and he just celebrated 1 year sober. So
awesome.
It's been great to have him along for the ride. Well, one thing that's on my bucket list is to write a book. That's something I've always wanted to do. So I would like to do that. We'll have to talk about it sometime, Amy, since you've written a few. I really like what I'm doing. I love doing the alcohol a day. I don't know like how much I want to grow it. I love how small and intimate and just connected we all are in the group. So I don't have like big, ambitious Annie Grace taking over the world plans or anything like that. But I want to continue to help people where they need it. And so if that's something that's more than 30 days, like if that's a longer program or whatever you want to call it, I would like to do that. And I love just growing my podcast and talking to different people and hearing stories. That is really rich and fulfilling for me.
I don't know, Deb, I feel like I see a retreat in your future.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like planning a retreat?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Actually, I would love to do that, Amy. That is on my bucket. That was on my bucket list before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then, I would love to do that. I think that would be really rewarding. And I love to travel and
Love it.
Thanks for throwing that out there. What else should I do? What else?
I know, right? That's incredible. And, if I could just quickly rewind to the medical side of it real quick about the liver, when you were talking about people's livers, and I know, we hear that, okay, well, the liver regenerates itself and, or can, if it's not too damaged. And I just wonder, gosh, aside from things like the obvious people with yellow eyes, pain. I know that when I was in the height of my drinking, I actually had pain on my side that I didn't know what it was. It was kind of a dull ache, unidentifiable. And later in talking to people, they kind of said, I think that was your liver. And it was just so horrifying to think, I really actually probably was in worse shape than I realized or admitted. And so I'm wondering, are there warning signs that people can look for that really show, what you may need to actually just get medical help, whether you want to or not?
Yeah. So when you do your yearly wellness, I'm really big on yearly wellness exams, obviously, because I'm a wellness nurse and that is what we do. But you'll do a chemistry panel, it's called, and that will check your liver function tests. And so that can be a slight indicator. Most people have no symptoms of any sort of liver disease. So with liver disease, it's a progressive disease. So the good news, like you said, your liver can regenerate. It's like the Groot of your body organs. It can regrow itself and heal itself, but it can get to a stage where there is no turning back. So that first part of liver disease is what they call fatty liver disease. And that's where you see those elevated liver enzymes on your chemistry panel test, which, like I said, is a simple blood test. You may not have any symptoms, any physical symptoms at all. That is one that once you stop drinking, that can go away. Then it can progress into alcoholic hepatitis. So that's like that inflammation or swelling of your liver. And that's where you may have symptoms, which would be like a fever, jaundice, that's the yellow you were talking about, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, tenderness. And so that's something that you'll start to show symptoms for, and that is also reversible. So good news again. Yeah. And then when you do get to the alcohol-related cirrhosis, that's scar tissues. The cirrhosis is also known as scar tissue. And so that's the one that you can get to the point where that's irreversible. It can take over most of your liver function. And so you'll have worsening symptoms like the ones we were talking about, the jaundice and the pain in the abdomen. And you could get swelling of your legs or ankles, just being really tired. And then some people, when they are having liver problems, they may have that nausea. You may bruise easier. You can have darker urine, changes in your stools, and itchy skin. So those are the things that you're looking for. And I mean, sometimes you can see improvements in 4 weeks when you stop drinking, and then sometimes 6 months. So I think that's really promising. And then the other tips I just like to share for loving your liver, besides not drinking, would just be to like drink lots of water, staying hydrated, because your liver acts as like a filter, and it removes waste and processes waste and poison. I mean, alcohol is poison. That's why it's so hard on your liver, because when you drink alcohol, your body stops doing everything else, and your liver goes right to work in metabolizing and getting rid of that alcohol. So that's why it ends up having a lot of liver problems. So anyway, so drinking lots of water, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, getting lots of fiber. The green leafy vegetables are especially beneficial. So those are like the spinach, the broccoli, cabbage, arugula. And then any kind of berry is always very good for you. And then nuts and olive oil are liver-friendly foods. And then anything high in fiber is great. They recommend at least 25 grams per day, and then exercising.
Love it. Love it all. Those are such great tips too, because, we hear different things sometimes, and it's just hard to, it's hard to separate fact from fiction. Like, what specific thing should I be eating instead of just the blanket, eat healthy?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I work with a lot of dietitians, and I have one who says the answer to your question, any question you're going to ask about your diet, is eat vegetables. Oh, that's always her answer. Just eat more vegetables.
Secret to life.
Just add it, go crazy with them.
I love it. So good. What are as we're kind of starting to wrap this up a little bit, I'm just curious to know, what are your personal thoughts on Suboxone and Vivitrol and some of these kind of anti-craving or, helping with detox drugs?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, the one I've personally taken is naltrexone, which you can take by pill or injection. It's
Antabuse?
No. So Antabuse is the original
old school.
Old school. That's the one that you take in. You can't have any alcohol, any products with alcohol at all. It's designed to just make you vomit, basically. And then there's another one called Camprol, I think, that's designed to help reduce cravings as well. So I think it's okay to try them. I think having more tools in your toolbox. If you want to give it a try, you can ask your doctor to prescribe you one. You don't have to go to an addiction specialist. Typically, you could ask your primary care provider or your, I know a lot of women just end up going to their gynecologist. So yeah, I think they can be beneficial. With the naltrexone, I kind of took it off and on. I did kind of notice a decrease in cravings, but I still wanted to drink. And then it was such a habit that I just kept drinking anyway, but not feeling the effects. But I don't know, at a certain point, I was just like, I tried that. I'm not going to do that again, but give it a try.
Yeah. And, I love your whole idea of, it almost sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but hey, you get to customize this. You get to design something that works for you to try in an effort to quit drinking. And I love that so much, because there are some things in the 12-step fellowship that we just you sort of are like, oh, but I probably won't. I'll pick to mention that in a crowd that I know is a little bit more accepting of this idea than others. And one of those things for me, I love that you brought up the non-alcoholic beer. Oh, yeah. I don't drink that, but what I did do in early sobriety particularly was I had a favorite wine glass, and I would put sparkling water in that. And I was told by a few people, oh, you can't do that. That's like, super triggering. And I found it helped me personally. And that was my first, I guess, light bulb moment of, oh, maybe I actually am going to be able to trust myself more down the road and find my own way on this path. And so I think it's just such it's a beautiful set of work that you're doing to kind of hold the lantern for other people finding their way. Would you say that that's kind of an accurate description of how you operate the alcohol tipping point?
Yeah, I do. With everything I do, even parenting, which makes me kind of not the best parent, but sometimes yes, but I do not tell people what to do.
Yeah.
I just feel like when you have choices, you are more empowered. And there is who am I to say what the right way to do it is? I do feel like I have more understanding of people and like AA and just the well-meaning behind it, because here are these people that it worked for them. And so they're like, we want this to work for you. So do what we did. And, this is the way. This worked for me. It's all coming out of somewhere good, but it has gotten kind of misconstrued along the way. And so I try to just be open-minded and the one thing I do like to focus on is science-based and evidence-based, but also with compassion.
Huge. Compassion is so huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I completely resonate with you. I am the same way. I do not like telling anybody how to do anything almost to a fault. And that is a complete turnaround from how personally I used to be. So I like to hear that there's somebody else out there doing that too, where it's like, I'm maybe not the best parent either. Just kind of, maybe I could offer you some suggestions and you could take one or whatever. But do you have any final thoughts? Anything that I forgot to ask that you want to be sure you mention? Any final message?
Well, that sounds like a lot of pressure there, Amy.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. I always like to tell people, you're not broken. I don't believe anyone's broken. We're human. Your brain is working exactly as it was designed to. It's designed for survival. It's designed to move you towards pleasure and away from pain. And if you find that you are drinking more and more, it's just that alcohol is so good at doing both things, moving you towards pleasure and away from pain. And your body and your brain has gotten really good at learning that. But the good news is you can undo all that. You can recover. You can change your life. You can change your habits. And you are not alone. And there are many, many resources out there for you.
Deb, thank you so much. Such a pleasure meeting you. I'm so thrilled to hear about the work that you're doing. And I just say, sky's the limit. Plan the retreat. You're awesome. I'm so thrilled that you are doing this work. And so I appreciate your time. I know people listening will resonate with this. And so I want to thank you so much for the honor of having you give some of your time away to come and share with me today and share with the listeners. It's so important for everybody to have that little sense of hope that, you know what, maybe things can get different, than waking up hungover every day. And I think you're just providing so many avenues to connect people with those choices. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Amy. And I'm looking forward to having you on my podcast and hearing more about your story. And and I always invite people, if you have any questions, feel free to email me directly, Deb, DEB, at alcoholtippingpoint.com, or just go to the website, alcoholtippingpoint.com.
I love it. And are you on Instagram as well?
Oh, yes. I have a I was going to say non-professional, very humorous Instagram account. It's Alcohol Tipping Point. But I like to post a variety of things. But what I really like to post and share is humor, because I'm at heart a very silly little girl. So, I do think it's helpful just to laugh about things and not take ourselves so seriously. So yeah, and Instagram itself, if you're looking for a community for other sober people, like there are a ton of sober accounts on there. And I know some people purposely make just a sober Instagram account and then they can go follow whoever they want. And so that is a really great free resource.
It absolutely is. I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's such a wealth. It's like a treasure trove of all kinds of different people getting sober in different ways and encouragement and all of that. So I'm glad you mentioned it. Thanks.
You bet.
All right. I will see you soon. Thank you so, so much for your time and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for listening to Eternally Amy. Amy Liz Harrison is a best-selling author, speaker, 12-step coach, meditation teacher, and recovery advocate. To find out more, please visit amylizharrison.com. Keep up with Amy on all platforms by following @AmyLizHarrison. Please subscribe and review this podcast. It means so much to us if you do.